In the headlines, President Muhammadu Buhari accuses state governors of diverting local government funds. Rivers Atiku supporters dares Wike holds presidential campaign in Okrika as National Security Advisor warns state governors against preventing opposition rallies. Federal government announces December 5th for Abuja-Kaduna train service resumption. And Democratic Republic of Congo military accuses M23 rebels of killing 50 civilians. Hello and welcome to Trust TV News Update. I'm Zainab Bala. Hello and welcome. President Muhammadu Buhari has harshly criticized some state governors for the endemic corruption at the local government system, which he says is inhibiting development at the grassroots. The president spoke on Thursday at State House Abuja at a parley with members of the Senior Executive Course 44 of the National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies, KURU. Now, describing what was happening as a terrible thing, the president urged public office holders to be guided by their conscience and personal integrity. Kainde Amodu reports.
What is happening at the local government level is an open secret in Nigeria. Funds meant for development of local government is normally intercepted by state governors, leading to stunted development at the third tier of government. Despite paying lip service to the issue of local government financial autonomy, the matter has not gone any further over the last few months. An executive order signed by the president has been blocked, and the case remains in court. President Buhari is just amplifying what is happening at the third tier and is describing it as terrible.
50 million will be sent to the chairman with a letter that he will sign that he received 100 million. The governor will pocket the balance and share it with whoever he wanted. And then the chairman of the local government will see how much he must pay in salaries to help goes to development. Money for the salaries will be given and the balance will put in his pocket. This was happening.
The president is therefore urging all public office holders to be guided by their conscience, but more importantly is pledging that the recommendation in the NIPS report will be implemented.
It is obvious that government cannot afford to pay lip service to the recommendation contained in this report. I assure you that the report will be treated with the seriousness and urgency it deserves. Government will seriously study the report with the view to implementing the carefully detailed recommendations.
The report of the Senior Executive Course 44 suggests that for Nigeria to manage most of the challenges currently facing the country, governance at the grassroots must be set straight and corruption must be eradicated.
Your resolve to achieve zero tolerance in corruption is a struggle that we as a nation cannot abandon if we must prosper. The national and global support given to your administration is a huge opportunity to be leveraged on.
The takeaway from this discussion is clear. If the local community and the grassroots is not governed, there is no reason to complain that bandits have taken over local communities. From State House Abuja, Kainde Amodu, Trust TV News.
The vice presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Yusuf Baba Ahmed, has expressed displeasure over the flagrant disregard by some political parties for the peace accord they signed in September 2022. Baba Ahmed, while addressing a news conference in Abuja, accused the ruling All Progressive Congress and its candidates, as well as the candidates of the People's Democratic Party, of alleged derogatory comments against his party and its candidate, Peter Obi. He therefore called on politicians and their parties to focus themselves rather than demarketing other candidates.
to have crossed the boundaries of decency, to transgress our peaceful activities and our focus on political schedules. It is unfortunate that despite the noble objectives of this initiative, disinformation and misinformation about the Labour Party and its candidate have become fashionable in this election season. APC's strategy against Peter Obi now appears very clearly centered on promoting falsehood in addition to empty and derogatory personal attacks. And of course, this is because they can find no contentious point of negativity to push. Others are not left out. It is important to underline that oaths of office do not expire with tenure. And hence, the comment that northern electorates do not need a Yoruba or Igbo leader is greatly at variance with the oaths of office taken in 1999 and 2003 respectively, and the Peace Accord of 2022.
The PDP Presidential Campaign Council in Rivers State says no one can stop its meetings geared towards canvassing for votes for the PDP presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar in the state. Director General of the PDP Presidential Campaign Council in Rivers State, Abia Sekibo, stated this while addressing PDP stakeholders in Okrika local government. He and other stakeholders of the party said the campaign council does not require permission from the local authority to hold its meeting in the local government and urged party faithful electorates to ensure that the party emerges victorious in the 2023 elections.
We didn't need the local government council chairman permission to gather as we have gathered today. So they should not go and punish the young man for nothing. Any attempt to stop us here, that means that you don't want your government to be at peace. We stand for peace. We stand for peace. We stand for truth. We stand for justice. But if you bring injustice, we shall deal with it.
PDP in Okrika, working for the success of our dear presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar, was nearly disrupted by the chairman of council who came with a group of people here to disrupt our meeting, but for the overwhelming presence of security agents that stemmed that tide. We want to advise Rivers people not to be afraid. Stand firm. You have the freedom to meet anywhere so long as it's a lawful and peaceful assembly.
The National Security Advisor, Babagana Monguno, has warned state governors using thugs to prevent opposition from mounting campaign materials in their domains, that security agencies would soon descend on them. Now, anchoring the ministerial briefing at the State House on Thursday, Monguno further warned that there will be no hiding place for perpetrators when the law enforcement agencies take steps. The NSA, who was reacting to reports of state governors implementing policies that prevent the presence of opposition campaign materials in their states, blamed the action on what he called inferiority complex. He cautioned the governors to restrain their thugs from what he described as a Cabo regime, reminding them that President Muhammadu Buhari had given clear directives that the 2023 elections must be free, fair and credible. On the persistent attacks on INEC officers, particularly after he had promised to deal decisively with the attackers, he assured that the situation will be handled. Moving on, achieving peace and unity among the heterogeneous groups of Nigerians has again been described as non-negotiable. At the 2023 National Inter-Religious Conference in Kano, followers of various faiths believe that unity and peaceful coexistence is paramount in achieving Nigeria's socio-economic growth and development, especially with 2023 elections around the corner. Trust TV correspondent Idris Jabir reports that religious tolerance as a tool for national unity is among the major issues deliberated during the conference. His report.
tagged harnessing Nigeria's religious diversity for sustainable peace and national development. This conference is the third put together by the Kano State government in an effort to ensure peace and unity among all Nigerians, regardless of their ethnic beliefs or religious backgrounds.
If we believe that our future peace and security lies together rather than apart, then we must come together to understand the power of faith to force the greatest possible solution for the common good.
According to these religious and traditional leaders, peace must be sustained in order to add strength to religious tolerance and cooperation for sustainable peace and national development.
Peace is the gateway to freedom, and peace is the cornerstone of every nation. Every nation's development and progress need peace.
There are various established faculties that teach conflict resolution and peace studies, but we must find a way to bring simplified version of interfaith dialogue to the church to promote mutual respect and mutual understanding among citizens.
Peaceful coexistence is surely required for the growth and development of our respective communities and the nation in general. This makes the choice of the theme of this conference, harnessing Nigeria's religious diversity for sustainable peace and national development, as most appropriate.
Various speakers from both Islam and Christian faith opened up regarding their grievances on national unity for peace and possible solution to achieving peaceful coexistence among Nigeria's diverse and multicultural society.
It is more than time to begin to present religion for what it truly is, namely a powerful force for good in the society.
It's better we know our differences and then harness our resources in maintaining the unity in the spirit of federalism, which is unity in diversity. So here, we are here for harnessing Nigeria's diversity for self-development.
At the end of this annual interreligious conference, a communique is expected to be issued that will seek to address various grievances among the two major religious groups of Islam and Christianity to effectively strengthen mutual understanding among Nigerians, regardless of culture, religion, or traditional backgrounds. Idris Jibrin, Trust TV News, Kano.
The chairman of the Senate Committee on Petroleum Upstream and governorship candidate of the Young Progressive Party in Akwa Ibom State, Senator Basi Akpan, has been sentenced to 42 years in a correctional facility by a federal high court, Uyo, for corruption. Senator Akpan, who was prosecuted by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, has been taken to Ikot Ekpene Custodial Center, Akwa Ibom, to serve his term. He was accused of receiving bribes for 12 cars worth $254 million from an oil marketer, Olajide Omokere, during his tenure from 2010 to 2014 as Commissioner for Finance in Akwa Ibom State. You're watching Trust TV News Update. Coming up, how monopoly is increasing price of beef in Bauchi. Details of this and more after the break. Do stay.
Now, as part of efforts to support Africa's goal of strengthening...
Now, looking at the activity chart, as you can see right here, a total volume of 130...
Created a Boko Haram crisis that at that time was restricted to Yobe.
How secure are they? You can see security men with blood.
This is the road leading up to the...
Already, if you look at England squad, you are looking at EPL, you are looking at their names. You are not looking at...
documenting the Nigerian story.
Welcome back. If you are just joining us, this is Trust TV News Update. Our top stories. President Muhammadu Buhari accuses state governors of diverting local government funds. And Rivers Atiku supporters dares Wike holds presidential campaign in Okrika as National Security Advisor warns state governors against preventing opposition rallies. Moving on, the federal government has announced that services along the Abuja-Kaduna Rail Corridor would resume on December 5th. Managing Director of Nigeria Railway Corporation, Fidet Okiria, who disclosed this on Thursday, said all was set for the resumption of the services. Okiria, however, advised passengers wishing to utilize the service to commence updating of their mobile app from December 3rd to enable them to successfully book for rides. According to the NRC boss, the services will commence with 2 train rides from Abuja to Kaduna and vice versa. The NRC boss assured of the federal government's commitment to ensure safety of lives and properties on board its train at all times. Now, the significant contribution of letter writing to conversations around leadership, politics, and Pan-Africanism has been emphasized as a guide to leaders in power. It is also seen as contributing towards proffering solutions to government-based issues of national interest. This was brought to the fore at the public presentation of a 25-chapter narrative nonfiction which curates some of the most notable and historical letters written and received by former Nigerian President Olusegun Obasanjo. The report.
Constructive engagements tailored towards making good leaders is such that aids national discourse as exemplified by former Nigerian President Olusegun Obasanjo, who is famed for using letters to speak to subordinates, superiors, associates and foreign personalities, not minding the accolades or reproach such letters might generate.
But in many years, it will be hard to get any man in Nigeria to wear the size of his shoes, to have and to command such overarching presence. His record keeping will be a thing of envy to the CIA, to the FBI, to Mossad, to MI5, to KGB, to make them grin with envy. I doubt that anyone living in living memory has ever had this sense of record keeping.
Author of the book, during a conversation on his inspiration behind the book, noted that through Obasanjo's many letters, Nigeria wielded so much influence within Africa and around the world. He is hopeful that the same culture would be revived.
If you read the book, you will realize that Obasanjo spent his time and resources, including funding guerrilla movements, in Africa, just for Africa to be free.
In his remark, former Nigerian President Olusegun Obasanjo expressed regret that Nigeria, a country highly revered during his years as military head of state and president, and wrote many letters geared towards righting the wrongs in the country, has fallen from her giant status.
Such that it's relevant, it's realistic, and it is purposeful and goes to the point to address the issue you want to address succinctly and clearly. It must also stand the test of time, and you will see almost all the letters stand the test of time.
The 492-page book written in honor of the former president compellingly tells stories defining Nigeria, the larger African continent, through a number of letters written to dignitaries in Nigeria and around the world that have never been publicly seen. Aisha Salihu, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Moving on, cow meat is a staple in Nigerian meals, but the high cost of living is affecting the consumption of beef in Bauchi, and people are resorting to taking meals without meat. Stakeholders are accused of creating a monopoly and not allowing the forces of demand and supply to determine the price of meat. Trust TV's Adamu Imam reports.
Trading in cow meat is a lucrative business due to the high demand for beef. But profit margin made by stakeholders or middlemen referred to as enchori in Hausa language is deemed too high by consumers. These days, people are consuming meals without meat, and there are those believe it is time for government should intervene and regulate the business of cow meat for the benefit of the masses.
Under normal circumstances, the process of demand and supply should determine prices. But if at union level you peg a price that nobody should sell above or below this price, I think it's wrong. It is against humanity. It is repugnant to natural justice, equity, and good conscience.
The consensus of all those in the meat business is that it is driven by selfish individuals within the market.
Most of the butchers you see on the street selling, they are not the real owners. They don't have sufficient capital to slaughter an animal and sell by themselves. So there has to be a kind of signage. A very rich person would acquire a large kitten, slaughter it, and distribute to retailers. These retailers receive it at exorbitant prices. No one can tell the secret of how much an animal was acquired.
Durham Market along Ningi Kano Road in Bauchi is one of the marketplaces where cow business is thriving. Those intermediaries are contributing to the cost of cow in recent times. They have nothing. They come without money and only prey on the buyers and sellers. At the end of a particular transaction, they usually collect their share, called la'ada in Hausa language. Despite the negative trend, cow business is still all-encompassing and is a secure place to invest. Sarkin Power of Durham is particularly emphatic that it engages a large number of people. We call them enchori or ennakama. The fact is that when sales are recorded, they will get something. If you are a rich person, people will always be around you.
It's water for our cows if they bring cows from the other places. So we want to be boreholes so that we can give to our cows. And we need government to give us pens to cleanse the market for us.
So who determines the price of the meat? Is it the market or the stakeholders? Adam Imam, Trust TV News, Bauchi.
MTN Nigeria shed 1.60% of its share price alongside other 10 stocks, dragging the Nigerian market down on Thursday, the first trading day in the month of December. The all-share index declined marginally by 0.01% to close at 47.64 points from the previous close of 47.04 points. The market capitalization was closed down by 0.01% to close at 25.957 trillion from the previous close of 25.959 trillion, shedding 2 billion naira. Now the market breadth closed positive as 13 equities emerged as gainers against 11 equities that declined in their share prices. An aggregate of 172.9 million units of shares was traded in 3,073 naira deals valued at 2.8 billion naira. Now on the foreign scene, Democratic Republic of Congo's armed forces on Thursday said M23 rebels and their allies killed 50 civilians in a massacre in the eastern town of Kashishe this week, which the M23 denied. Now, Congo's army and the M23, a Tutsi-led militia, have been locked in fighting for months in the country's restive east, with each accusing the other of initiating attacks. United Nations and U.S. diplomats who were aware of the killings in Kashishe, North Kivu province, called for investigations as UN Secretary General spokesperson said the United Nations had received reports of human rights abuses committed during the clashes. Now, Congo and UN experts said neighboring Rwanda supports the M23, a claim vehemently denied by Rwanda. The two countries took part in talks last week in Angola aimed at finding solutions to the conflict. One of their agreements was that an East African Community regional force will intervene against the M23 if it did not stop fighting and withdraw from its positions. And in sports, Spain staggered through to the World Cup last 16 on Thursday despite a 2-1 defeat by Japan, who remarkably won Group E on a roller coaster night which saw 4-time champions Germany eliminated. Now, Japan secured another incredible triumph after beating Germany in their opening game with their progression from the group of death, one of the greatest achievements in the country's footballing history. For a few heart-stopping minutes, Spain were poised to head out when Costa Rica were leading in the other game, but the 2010 champions squeezed through after Germany did them a favor by coming back to beat Los Ticos. Spain and Germany ended on 4 points each, but La Roja progressed on goal difference. With sports, we wrap up news updates at this hour. Do not forget to follow us across all our social media platforms. I'm Zainab Bala. Thanks for your time and company.